My name is Taylor Rowan, and this is Confident Risks. Today, we're going to talk about being willing to learn. Ask yourself that question. Am I willing to learn? Let's find out. Being willing to learn, it's a topic that a lot of us have to really truly ask ourselves, because a lot of us think to ourselves, well, I'm willing to learn, but actually maybe I know it all. And maybe you are a know-it-all. And we have to ask ourselves that question, which is, am I willing to learn in situations, or do I think that I know it all? Because if you think you know it all, you're not willing to grow. I can think about, I was just hanging out with some firefighters today, and they were saying to themselves, and they're talking in a group there, it was like, if you think you know it all, it's time for you to hang the boots up. Same thing as I've heard with motorcycle riders. If you don't have fear anymore, it's time to hang it up. And the reason for that is because if you think you know it all, you're going to get a reality check really quick. And if you're not willing to learn, you're not willing to grow. You hear that a lot from me, and it's a common thing. If you're not willing to learn, you're not willing to grow. I take this one to my thought process that I have every day at the job that I have and the company I have here, Tailored Systems, is I hire the people around me who have high thought processes. We talked about this being like the upper 90%ers, the people who really think through things. Most of the people here, I can tell you, will probably have their own businesses one day, because I want to surround myself with those people. Why? Because I want to learn. I've got 19-year-old kids here that work that I'm able to learn something from. They go out there, and I have to ask myself, am I wanting to learn from this situation, or am I want to just show my dominance and show people I'm right? Because I see that a lot, and I am tying this back a little bit to business, but I see that a lot in businesses, which are like, you know what? I'm just bringing people around me so that I can control the situation. When you start doing that, you will fail, because you're not bringing out the light in the people around you, and you're not making yourself better. You think you know it all. I have multiple times, and it's probably one of the reasons why we have such a great atmosphere here at work, is because there's many times where I'll go into, maybe it's a quote that I'm working on, it's a bid that I'm working on, or it's a new design of a product that I'm working on, and I'll go out and I'll seek the people out like, hey, you know a lot about this situation. Tell me more about this. Here's where my thought is. Tell me your thought. And I'm able to then take people's thought processes and turn them into something. And then they can come in and they can, it just makes me start thinking a little bit differently about, instead of necessarily being the motorcycle rider, now I'm talking to the mechanic on why it actually works. I know that's just an analogy that we're using here, but it's one of those things where you understand how the motorcycle works, it makes you become a better rider. You understand how the business works, it makes you become a better employee. You know how the employee works, it makes you become a better business owner. Everybody understanding the thought processes and why people do things makes us all better, and you're never going to learn it all. Are you continuing to have yourself grow every single week? Are you continuing to let yourself grow every week? And that comes with being willing to learn. When you're willing to learn, you're willing to succeed. When I'm able to take input from employees, it does also another thing too. It empowers the people around me. Okay, you think about that, even the relationships that you're with. You're talking to your wife, you're talking to your significant other, you're talking to your kids. And remember, think about when you validate something for them. People who look up to you, maybe even sometimes, not your wife, but maybe your kids, they're looking up to you and they think to themselves like, oh, my dad said that this was good. I was just working on a spelling test with my daughter this morning, and she was going through the words. I remember she was doing a couple of, Jade, you're doing a great job on that. Nice work. And it just empowered her. You can just see her whole attitude just shift. What does that do to her? It makes her more confident. Same thing for the employees that work here. They come in, they talk, they get an idea. Man, that's that empowers them and makes them think, man, I should be doing this more often. And they start thinking to themselves, and it allows them to start thinking more outside the box. When they start doing that, then that just helps the company as a whole. And hopefully that empowers them one day to go off and do something on their own, right? Those are things that we have to start looking at. Is like, are we willing to learn? Because when we're willing to learn, it doesn't show weakness. It brings strength out in people. It brings strength out in you. It brings strength out in people around us. And if we really collaborate, the past few episodes that we've talked about, that's what it's been about. How do we empower? How do we bring positive attitudes? How do we bring that to the people around us? It's validating the things that people say around you. It's taking advice. It's being willing to learn, knowing I don't know everything. I sure as heck don't know everything, but I'm willing to go out and seek the truth on things, making sure that I'm getting the absolute best information to make the absolute best product I can. I'm seeking information. Think about even on this podcast. Like, we've shot the past a couple episodes I've done. I remember I've been sitting there thinking, and Kevin, who does our editing, he'll come in and just say, hey, I've really got a thought on this. And it takes me down this whole new rabbit hole, which just happened, actually. I'm able to then go down different rabbit holes and start thinking about things because I'm able to take input from somebody else who's listening and say, oh my gosh, that's great on how you just thought about that. I didn't think about it that way. Boom. Takes me down a whole new rabbit hole. And it's because I'm willing to listen. I'm not taking credit for it. He has the ideas sometimes. I'm just able to come out and present them. Same thing happens at work. Just because I'm able to go out there and do these things, some of the other people that I have working here are able to then come up with the idea like, man, that's great. How can I spin that? How can I make that even better? Perfect. I go and do it. Back when I was kicking, can remember, I mean, I made however many field goals, and I think to myself, like, oh, is that all me? It wasn't me. There was a snapper, there was a holder, there was people blocking, there were other people around me who made that possible. And sometimes you get in a situation where a kick would be blocked, but your first reaction is to say, oh my gosh, you let the guy through. But then I was like, well, wait, did I do something wrong on that? Maybe I was a little bit slow to the ball. Okay, maybe I was the person, so I can learn something from that as well, because I got to learn from my mistakes. The second that you're not willing to learn from your mistakes, or the second that you think you're a know-it-all, that's when you need to hang it up. Because reality checks are a hard truth. They come in hard. There's only so far you can go thinking that you know it all before you realize you don't. As a parent, same thing every day, learning with my kids. My kids go off, they say something. I was like, oh my, you just want to go in, you want to wring their neck a little bit, or they say something, and it's like, oh my gosh. But then you realize I can learn from my own kids. There's feelings and things that they say or they do that I need to start opening my eyes to. And thinking, I'm not necessarily always right every time I go to punish my kids or tell them that they're wrong. Sometimes they do or say things that I'm like, gosh, why am I doing that? I could think of an instance just yesterday. I was in my son's room and I went to pick his Xbox up to move it because we were getting ready to plug in a new keyboard he got for his PC. And I remember I grabbed his Xbox when I picked it up. He goes, whoa, Dad, why are you picking it up like that? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, be careful with that thing. And I was like, you know what? Why am I going that way? I'm taking a risk by doing that. So, oh, you're right, Jace. But it showed that he cared about his items. It showed that he cared about things. And I was going outside that. And so instead of me saying, Jace, it's going to be fine, and telling him that his thought process is wrong, I was like, you know what, Jace, you're right. Grab it with two hands. What does that hurt? It empowers him more. It allows him to express himself and say, you know what? This is how I feel about this situation. And instead of me shutting that down and killing his confidence, it's like, you know what? You do care about your items. Perfect. I'm going to grab this with two hands. I'm going to set this over there. Be willing to listen to the people around you. And when I say that, yes, we talk about learning from the people around it, but that also comes with listening. It's listening. And there's things that maybe people say that you don't necessarily agree with. You take it for what it is and you move on. But be willing to listen and learn from those around you. When you're able to do that, you're able to collect a lot more data. I think about that like a computer. AI, think about that again. The data sources that it has that just come in and flood into its brain. Maybe they're all not great, but at the same time, you're able to take the perspectives from everything. And the more perspectives you have, the more data you have, the better choices you can make. The more input you have from people, the more outside noise that you're able to listen to and you're able to decipher through, that people feel willing to come and they feel like they can come and talk to you about it. It's going to make you better. It's going to make the people around you better. Be willing to listen. Be willing to learn. You don't know it all. I don't know it all. I'm willing to learn every single day. Just like I said, even on these podcasts, as I go down doing episodes, it gets hard to think about things to talk about every week. Listening to the people around me on the outside say, hey, you know what? These are things you should probably talk. Oh, that's a great idea. Boom, let's go for it. And start going down rabbit holes. Be willing to learn. When we're not willing to learn anymore, we're dead. Not really, but not physically, but emotionally, we're dead. We're not willing to learn anymore. What's even the purpose? Be willing to listen to the people around us. Be willing to learn from the people around us. Understand that, you know what, maybe that person's not right all the time from what we think, but it's perspective that we haven't thought about before. Let people be confident around you. Let people around you be confident to talk to you. A pretty cool story I had from just a few weeks ago is that we have one of our firefighters on staff. He brought his dad in, and he had been in the fire service for a very long time. And I was sitting here talking with him. Great guy, just sitting here having great conversations with him. He was reflecting back on his days in the fire service, and he was talking to me about, you know, how we do things here now and we have a lot younger people that work here, and they're able to come in and kind of talk to us. He goes, you know, I really regret back when I was in the fire service because I had this, you know, macho superior, like this is what the rules should be. And I had these younger guys that were coming up to kind of tell me some ideas that were actually pretty dang good, but I didn't even give them the time of the day because he had to show that like his superiority was here and that those people were underneath him. And that's exactly what we have tried doing here at our company. And that's what I try doing on a daily basis, even with my kids now, is I learn from those types of things. I've heard so many times that same scenario that people have been willing to open up and tell me those stories. And when you're willing to open up and tell those stories and you're willing to listen to those stories, you start to really realize like, man, this person's here now, older, wiser than I am, telling me they wish they would end. So why wouldn't I do that? Be willing to learn. Be willing to always know that I don't know everything. I've got a lot to learn. When you're willing to do that, we're willing to grow. We hear that a lot. There's a lot of things that we can do to grow. positivity, listening to people, understanding the scenarios around us, knowing that sometimes we can go against the grain, knowing that you don't need to push, all of these things, we're willing to grow, positive outlooks. Just let people know around you that you're willing to accept the advice. When we're standoffish, when we put walls up, we're not allowing ourselves to grow. Continue to do that. That's the positive message today. Really realize that no matter who it is, we can learn something from it. I do it for my kids every single day. You wouldn't think it as a parent. And sometimes I do tell them now, like, you know what? This is something that I'm glad you told me. And I'm able to talk to them about it. And I really have a different perspective. I'm not picking up Xboxes by one hand anymore. I can tell you that. I hope you guys are able to take something today, apply it to your everyday life. If so, please hit the like, hit the subscribe button. I love doing this. Can't wait for next week's episode. And until next time, stay sharp and stay resilient.